Hello, today is Friday, March 13th, and welcome to episode 569 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Senior Fellow Jessica Jones, and I'm joined today by our tallest advisory board member, Les Munson, and our favorite Senior Fellow, Morgan Vina. Okay, talking heads, this week we're going a little bit back in time, and we're talking about a dispute that made major headlines last week, but it's moved into this week. We've got one of the country's leading AI companies, Anthropic, and the U.S. Department of Defense a little bit at loggerheads right now, actually in the middle of a lawsuit. So last week, the dispute began when Anthropic began to raise some concerns about how its Claude AI models were being used by the DoD. In particular, it wanted some guardrails to be reinforced, and that was around that Claude wouldn't be used for the mass surveillance of Americans or to power fully autonomous weapon systems. The Pentagon came back and said, no, basically we can use these critical technologies for any lawful purpose. Anthropic refused to remove these conditions. And basically the DoD said, no, thank you. You're out. It labeled the company a supply chain risk. And it also it triggered a sweeping order that all military commands, defense contractors, and the like had to remove Anthropic's AI systems from its networks within the next 180 days. That's about 6 months, folks, if you don't do math. Anthropic has now sued the federal government. You've got other tech companies joining the fight in the lawsuit, including big name Microsoft. So there's a lot going on in the tech world. Les, I know that's your favorite world, technology. I've seen you with laptops and computers screaming into the abyss.
Jones, I use computers all the time.
He has a phone, folks. It's crazy. You wouldn't have guessed it.
Yeah.
So your favorite topic, AI.
Yeah.
What do you make of what's going on here in this fight? What's at stake? How do you track this story?
Jones, I like technology a lot. I use it all the time. I'm looking forward to humanoid robots who can make me breakfast and do my laundry and take care of other things that I'm not very good at. So I embrace all of the tech. I think it's awesome.
That's actually Les's retirement plan. It's just mini robots running around taking care of him.
Yeah, I embrace the future. I'm ready for AI to take over. There's a whole lot of decisions I don't want to have to make. This is going to be awesome. There's no downside in my view. Now, one other humorous note. Is the company really called Anthropic, like anthropos, like man? It is not man. It's artificial intelligence.
You are offended.
I don't know who Claude is. I know some people named Claude. They seem like decent people. I don't think there's actually a person here named Claude.
You are the best person to have on the show today, Les.
Thank you very much.
I'm so glad.
Thank you very much. I will pull. I know it's a fun Friday, and this is certainly a hilarious topic on a lot of levels. No, not really. But pulling back, I would say, not casting no aspersions on any of the fine companies that do work for our U.S. government and help with defense and are part of the arsenal of democracy. We love all of you. We're all in this together. That's great. I do think there's a policy issue way above all of this, which is at the end of the day, the people who are running U.S. national defense need to win the argument with contractors. And we have civilian control of the military for a reason. But we have a Department of Defense that is there for the American to protect America, to protect our citizens, to protect our taxpayers. And when there's an argument with a business, my default is just going to be in favor of the folks who are making national policy. I am not normally like that with government. And I think that we should let the private sector thrive and do things in other areas. But when it comes to national defense, I think it's a different conversation. And so without getting any of the particulars of this particular controversy, because I know it's in the courts and all that stuff, I think we should, my general view is let's tilt towards the government because they're the ones who are actually charged with the most important thing here.
Oof. Okay. Morgan, what do you think?
So I do appreciate Les's admission of his willful incompetence at the top of this podcast. I always knew you had it in you, Les.
I am who I am, Morgan. I am, I don't deny it.
And I truly, the name Anthropic, there is, I think some deliberate irony in there. Elon Musk has notably dubbed Anthropic misanthropic. So I think that's something to consider as well. So look, the impact on U.S. companies, defense tech in particular, is real. So if enforced, this order could affect any company the DoD contracts with, any subcontract a teaming arrangement that uses Claude or has a commercial relationship with Anthropic here. There's still a lot we do not know about this order. The scope is very broad and there's a lot of ambiguity here. It is unclear whether this order applies to existing contract renewals only or potential future work with the department, or whether this, it covers indirect usage of Claude. Also, we don't know how this is going to be enforced in a practical sense. What is clear, though, is that we have a whole of executive branch action. And there is to that point, we've got a presidential social media directive for whatever legal basis that's worth, a cabinet level supply chain designation, and an agency level GSA delistment of Anthropic from its AI testing platform and its multiple award scheduled procurement opportunities. That's clear. The legal basis for these actions is contested, as Les noted. Anthropic is suing the US government. However, while that legal basis remains ambiguous at best, the political intent is 100% clear. This is precedent setting because, as was noted, this delistment is typically used for, adversaries, not US companies. Ultimately, though, at this point, defense companies are going to need to assess their Anthropic usage. They're going to need to sort of talk to their counsel about next steps. When it comes to commercial agreements, they're going to have to sort of weigh those options. And obviously continuing to monitor government guidance, specifically through DFARS, the FAR, and through contracting officers is going to be critical during this time. So I see this dragging on for quite some time. And again, that's going to create a lot of ambiguity and a lot of consternation amongst the defense tech community, particularly during this time of war. So it honestly couldn't come at a sort of a more difficult time for the defense industry, but it's nevertheless something that companies will have to work with and work around.
What I find fascinating, just like let's not getting into particulars, is just such the human element of this AI story. Like the comments that are coming, we talk here about these huge defense tech companies that have kind of splashy CEOs and leadership that are, making waves when they talk. So you've got Dario at Anthropic, now Sam Altman-Wayne, and for OpenAI, and for such a tech topic, the amount of human statements and human story that interplays in that, I think, is really fascinating. And I think we continue as we see tech companies kind of getting these charismatic leaders and how that may push forward, different moves in policy and intersections with the government. So let's see how that unfolds. We got 180 days, folks, apparently, to see how this unravels. Les?
By the way, Jones, in our era today, irony is dead. So we need to Anthropic, you need to kind of move on from, if that is ironic, come on.
So Les is actually not sitting on his patio yelling, "Get off my grass." He's in fact in an office, but if you would be surprised that is not his move right now. That's a wrap. Thanks so much to Grace Trice, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for the help in producing today's episode. Join us on Monday, March 16th for another episode of Fault Lines, NSI's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. We're on YouTube. Check out our channel for a video of today's episode. And if you like or heard what you saw, be sure to rate, review if that was wrong, and subscribe. I also hear other podcasts remind folks that it's free to actually subscribe. So if you didn't know that and you're listening, it's free. It costs you nothing. Show us some love, you guys. Have a great weekend.